Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Michael Zuber, one rental at a time, back with his good friend, the lumberjack landlord. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing awesome, but I gotta admit, I think I'm out of shape. Like those last videos, those were tiring. It was different stuff that we talk about sometimes,
Yeah.
but man, that was really, yeah, it's a lot. People are gonna
So
watch it. They're great.
yeah. So I don't know if you saw a video. I think Dion and I did it the other day talking about foreclosure crisis.
Mhm.
Again, I think a foreclosure crisis will happen this year, and I think it will be bigger next year. I took great care to tell the full story. The
Okay.
reason that it is going to be a crisis is because we are coming off a year in 2021 where we did 152,000 foreclosures.
Yeah, sure.
We
Mhm.
are going to do 3, 4, 5, 600% more than that.
Yeah.
In addition, in that video with Dion, I wanted to painfully remind people that the foreclosure process is very different by state. And I showed you examples from the last crash. For example, California, peak pain, 2009. Washington, where Dion invests, 2012.
Yes.
Every state is different.
Yes.
And the reason I want to talk about this is there's more and more people talking about 1.6 million people have foreclosure filings. And there's talk about 600,000 people reported by Black Knight that are in the foreclosure process. There's a lot of vocabulary with foreclosures that
Yes.
I lived through because I was buying in that environment
Yes. Mhm.
that a lot of these channels don't get. So I want to say again, if your definition of a crisis is a 400 or 500% jump, congratulations, we will have a crisis this year. But I want to remind people the big crisis is next year. Foreclosures take a lot more time than people think. So what do you think about this foreclosure pile up, build up, crash, whatever you want to call it?
So off of the historic lows, yeah, it's gonna be nuts. But if you look at a typical year, I could be wrong, but I think a typical year is between 1.2 and 1.4.
I will actually bring it up. Give me a minute. I didn't have it saved. Let's
Because
see
I
how-
think a
Oh, I
typical
can't do
year.
it.
So if a typical year is 1.2 to 1.4, quite frankly, I think we get there.
Mhm.
I think we probably surpass that. But we're not talking about 3+ million.
Yeah.
Number one. Number two is even at the 1.6, you and I both know, having done this, there is default, then there's pre-foreclosure, then there's foreclosure, then there's REO.
Mhm. Yeah.
And when it hits REO, that's then when we get to buy them.
Yeah.
So you're 4 steps away. So at every single step, you're going to have some that get worked out, some that get short sold, some that get whatever. But you're going to have at every single step, a percentage of those falls off. And that's why I think I don't think we're not going to get anywhere near. I don't think we hit 1 million this year.
Oh, there's no chance we get 1 million this year.
No,
There's
I don't
no
think.
chance.
But
maybe,
I think,
maybe
but next year, yeah, next year.
Maybe.
But I think, but again, what's the trend? Like 2017, 18, 19, like what were those numbers?
So I did some math. Unfortunately, I can't bring it up because I'm not currently
Okay.
sharing, but I did in Dion's video yesterday talking about foreclosure crisis.
Okay.
If you go back to 2005, which is pre-crash, kind of good times,
Yep.
there was 1.5 million foreclosures that year.
Yeah.
So we could, in theory, 10x or 1,000% and be back to a normal year.
Normal.
So, it would not shock me if 2022, the year we're in, there was a 500% jump. I think there would be lots of videos on YouTube talking about a 500% increase in foreclosures. To your point, which is the end of the process.
Right. Yeah.
I want people to realize, again, when you look at like CoreLogic did a 10-year study of the last crisis, and I looked at it again with Dion. It's a great video. If people want the PowerPoint, I'll link it. It's just look it up. CoreLogic 10-year foreclosure crisis. Every state has their own process, but it's basically like this. You need to miss 3 payments before the bank does anything. So you're 3 months down already. That's 90 days. You lose your job today, you don't make any payments. That's June 1st, July 1st, August 1st. You don't even really hear from the bank till September. I believe there is still some workout law in effect that the banks need to try to work out with you for at least another 90 days.
Yes.
Okay. At which point they can start a foreclosure process. And again, this is a legal process.
Yes.
The reason that California peaked in 09 versus Washington 13, Florida 12, or whatever it was, is because the foreclosure process is different. Did you guys know that some foreclosure processes need to go in front of a judge?
Yep.
That takes a long time.
Yep.
A la Florida.
Yep.
Why was Florida so painful? Because it goes through a judge. California, not so much. So the pain's faster, right? A la 09 versus 2012. But again, there's a huge process between missing 3 payments and ultimately having an REO that shows up for guys like us to buy. You miss June 1st. Best case, and I mean best case from a bank, you would not be out of your home for 9 months. Folks, that's March.
Yeah.
If these pile up, the average in California was 1,000 days. That's almost 3 years. That's average. That means we had some people in there for 4, 5 years.
Yeah.
So people talking about a foreclosure pileup landing this year don't understand the process. We will certainly have, again, it was illegal to do foreclosures. 152,000 is so abnormally low as to be.
It's about a month's supply.
It's crazy. But it's going to go up 400 or 500%. And again,
Absolutely.
Foreclosure notices are also going to go up. I believe a recession is in the offering. I believe we will have unemployment go from 3.6 to 6.6. That will mean more people can't pay.
Yep.
But these are notices and this and that. That's why I say a foreclosure crisis this year, okay, because it's coming off of a very low number. If you want to talk about a foreclosure crisis and something of meaning, look to next year. Yes. I think too many people are creating fear and saying it's going to happen this year. And it's mathematically impossible, right? Just the number of days left in the year don't add up.
Right. The problem that also a lot of banks had then was supply was already high.
And just again and again and
again. And again. And it was literally like you and I were sitting there going, another list. Holy cow. It's another list.
Every Monday at 9 o'clock.
Right.
I would go on the MLS. It was a process every Monday at 9, every Monday at 9.
It was a list after list after list. And here's where I think that differs. That's when I think we were doing like 4 million something homes a year, maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
I think we're doing 4 million something homes a year. And I think the other piece of it too was, based on that number, that's about 350,000 homes a month. Well, foreclosures, when they really started, they started adding 300,000 homes a month, but the supply was already there for about a 6-month market.
Yeah.
And that's where because there was already inventory of about 2 or 3 million about 2 million. And so there was supply of about 2 million. There's a demand for, for only over the course of the entire year, 4 million. And now you've got 300,000 a month stacking on top of that every month, adding not only the 300,000 supply, but the other 300 on top of that. So that's how everything got out of whack. Right now, the best position the market can be in is that supply, even with all these explosions in supply, is still what, 1.2, 1.3?
Yeah. I think
waiting for that number.
Yeah. The other thing that can't be forgotten about last crisis, and this is again from guys that went through it, is not only was supply continuous and repetitive and frankly predictable, but lending turned off.
Yes.
So not only was supply building, but we went from a run rate of 2 or 3 million, 4 million homes to less than that because banks couldn't deal with the non-performing assets they have. So they were not lending to anybody. 800 credit score, 7-figure net worth. Sorry, can't get a loan. What?
Can't do it. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
No, not for you.
But that's where, so then the other piece of this too, the piece that if you look at the entire, process, you look at time to market, you look at the amount of existing supply, but now you look at one of the most important elements that a lot of people aren't paying attention to, which is the trillions of dollars on the sideline that are going to throw in on this game. They are going to throw it because what is the best asset, Mike? What is the most powerful inflation adjusted asset?
The best risk adjusted returns, the single family home.
Wall Street's not stupid.
Yeah.
they will, I mean, they've already been buying up chunks all over the place.
Yeah. They'll gobble up any pricing pressure. And that's one of the things I'm actually looking at for builders, right?
Yeah.
One of the, again, Greg Dickerson, my Monday expert's awesome. He's been telling us
Awesome.
builders are going to cut first. I think he's right.
He's definitely right.
I wonder if they sell to Wall Street first. They're like, dude, that development, 400 homes, whatever it is, we sold 220. We can't sell the next 180. Ring up Wall Street. We'll sell all 180 at cost.
Right.
Done.
Right. Or cost plus 5 or something like that.
Yeah, it could be. Because again, people need to realize, I reported this on the daily financial news. The average gross margin for builders today is 26%. The long historical average is 21%.
Yep. Correct.
So yeah, if they have a problem development, yeah, maybe they do cost plus 5, cost plus 8. And again, worst case cost, they just want to get their capital back. Right. So,
but I think just like anything, right, is it trickles this way. So
Yes.
you do cost plus 10, and then the next deal you do is cost plus 5.
Yeah.
And then the next deal you do is break. Right.
Yeah.
So that's where I think it's headed. And I think that there's so much money supply out there. There's so many of these funds. Like just last week, I heard about 2 funds that crossed $2 billion. $2 billion. And I'm like, and they're just like, yeah, we're waiting. Like all these SPACs out there. There's a ton of SPACs still out there too.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just look at this and say, I think that, there will be the guy that calls uncle first and says, you know what, 20% discount or 15% discount is good enough for me off that stuff.
No, I think it's going to happen. Yeah, I think, and again, typically the first mover is the one that gets the most profit, right? Because again, the first guy does it at cost plus 10. To your point, the next guy's got to do a better deal than that, so it's cost plus 8 and then cost plus 6.
Wall Street's smarter because they'll do cost plus.
Mm-hmm.
Retail people aren't as smart, and so what'll end up happening is it'll be list price minus.
Exactly.
Right? List price minus. So it's list price minus, and they go, oh, I got a 15% off deal.
It's still 8% higher than last year.
Yeah, exactly.
Still higher. That's what I think happens.
Yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff. Again, the market is changing right now. Transactions are going down in new builds, in existing, which is time for investors. This is the big thing I hope people take from our channel, our discussions. The market is changing right now. Yeah. There's a lot of people out there trying to scare you. I want to have a channel that motivates you to do the work, to write great offers, and get on the property ladder. You will be kicking yourself if you do not do a great deal this time. I know plenty of people that missed 2010 and they've done nothing. Oh. Transactions are crashing. Do the work, only do great deals. If you can get terms, all the better. Let's do the work. This is not permission to do nothing. This is actually permission to do the work. Where can people find you?
Lumberjack Landlord on YouTube and Instagram, as well as 11:30 a.m. Eastern time, Sunday live streams.
Awesome. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, Mike.
Mm-hmm.